All right, well, let's call this meeting to order. It's 9:31.
I know Chris is there, but not visible at the moment, so.
He's there, but not there. Okay. Okay. So do we have anybody in the public attending? Doesn't look like it. No new shining faces.
Just the same old shining faces, right?
I thought we ought to come up with some catchy nickname for our group. So, anyways. Let's see. So we'll get right into it. The scoring and the PCF for the principal assessor position. I did get to speak with Ed, who confirmed that the steps go up the left side of the chart and the grades go across the top, which leaves us in a rather tough position.
Can I share something with us?
Sure.
Okay. It's a document.
Okay. Yes.
So this is from when we had the Jacobs study.
Okay.
And if you look down at grade level 5, whoops, sorry, I guess I can't. Son of a gun. Sorry. Where did we go? Let me start again, because I tried to highlight, and obviously they decided that that wasn't a good decision. So on the left-hand side, you have a grade 5, and in that grade 5 are all really the town hall department heads.
Yeah.
And let me go across the top. So you have current employee. I think at the time, some of these salaries were much lower than they are today.
Yep.
But so we don't. I can also bring. So we can also bring up the current one. So it says proposed minimum, benchmark, and maximum. So for that grade. So if you look at how, who's graded together in grade 5, I mean,
Right.
the principal assessor is there, and at the time, was probably one of the higher paid in the area, but that's
Right.
kind of stalled because these grades are no longer, these salaries are no longer applicable, and I have that document somewhere. But what they're recommending, so for the mid-range, I guess at that time, and again, this was years ago, and then how far behind they are from the mid-range. I'm just trying, where's my principal assessor now? Here she is. So I guess the 9.24, that was, I guess my main point of this, because this was 2017.
Right. That was my next.
Yeah, all of these positions were grouped at the same grade level. So I guess my question would be, where are the other similar positions as the principal assessor? Where are they graded on our scale? And why are they not all graded at a similar level, similar to what was recommended by the Jacobs study? Because I don't know what grade the treasurer collector is. I don't know what grade, the health director is, or the town accountant, or the town clerk, or the library director. Are they graded in a similar level, or are they all over, our scoring chart? And if for whatever reason the grading of Martha's position was much lower than the other grades that exist today for the other comparable positions, then what? Well, how did that happen? I guess is my question.
That's a great question, Janet. And so, I mean, Ed, when we're using the exempt step and grade scale that the town is working from, because of Martha's experience as a principal assessor, Ed said he thought that she would not be in one of the upper steps because principal assessor and experience are what determine what step to use for the position or for the employee. And then I said, well, that certainly doesn't help where the Board of Assessors was planning, was hoping to go in terms of pay rate for this position, because we feel it should be paid in the same category as, the other positions you were just showing us on the Jacob study. Mm-hmm. And he pulled out the Jacob study, mm-hmm. and he said he felt that Martha should be in that mid-range for pay on the Jacob study. And that's exactly where we have asked the Finance Committee in our option 2 budget request. So then I had emailed Christy Slattery, the chair of the PPPB, and CC'd Robin, because whatever we decide today, I'm going to need their signatures according to the Finance Committee to be able to have the finance discuss a change in pay rate, in their budget discussions. And the PPPB tells me that they can't sign it until the town accountant has signed it, and the town accountant will not sign it until, and as an interim, they can't anyways. And
they can, April. They sign a lot of PCFs.
Okay, but the town accountant said that she cannot sign this until the finance votes in the budget.
Right.
So I have been going around in this very frustrating circle and not getting anywhere. Right. And is the new scoring, the exempt with whatever, grade, it's grade 12, right?
Right.
Grade 12, step whatever we decide, even beneficial to what we're looking to do? I don't know. So I'm looking for discussion from the board to see where we go with this.
Well, and again, if we go to the Jacob study and department heads should be graded in a comparable level, and if they're not, then how do we correct that, I guess?
Didn't they choose not to go with the Jacob study? So it's all just doesn't really matter anyway?
But I don't think anybody chose one way or the other. I think it just, nothing's been moved for. Obviously, it's kind of old news now, and Art presented a little bit back in late 2019, the study again to try to get within those brackets. But
yeah,
we need
this study too.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, I think, if everybody agrees that department heads in town and should be paid at the same grade, maybe different steps, but same grade. I guess I don't know if it's worth asking what other grade levels, the other the three-legged stool there for our finance team. The accountant and the assessor and the treasurer, if that's the three-legged finance stool, what grade are they at, and why is our grade on the low end, I guess? I mean, it's because the language isn't suitable and how we have to score the tool that they have at their disposal, which is not anybody's, it's just what it is. I guess I just don't, I guess I'm perplexed if your grade is much lower than the other grades. We're not talking about steps, we're just talking about grades. Then how do we deal with that, I guess, or recommend that they be comparable grades, department heads be comparable grades? And does that help us at all? I don't know.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, how are they being paid more but scored on the same chart? Because it seems like we can't put Martha somewhere on that chart that's going to be beneficial. To her, to the principal assessor position, not Martha in general, but.
Right. I mean, yeah. I spent some time last night just adding a 2% COLA raise each year to try to figure out where that would come in, and it still isn't beneficial at all.
I mean, you still have a top step that's
below where we want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of.
Right. So is each step another year of experience? Is that the way that's looked at? And none of us can answer that question, I don't think.
Well, I think, and the issue, I think, is the grade. Honestly, the step's not going to get us to where we want to be anyway. So,
right.
How can one director be a 16 and another director be, I mean, I know that's not your title, but that's basically what you are, be a 12. So,
right.
Why is there such a disparity? Other than the variables are degree, college degrees, years of experience, number of people that they're responsible for, how many people, direct reports, that can change the step and maybe even change the grade 1 or 2, but to have a 4-step difference is, and again, I don't know if anybody can pull out from the archives where what other step everybody else in that department head group lies.
Let's see if I can pull up.
I mean, I don't think we have the information by step. I think that
So
Rob's trying to get that information, like what grade are you at, what step are you at?
So can we request that information from either Ed or the PPPB, or, where do we go to request that information? So that should be something that we should be able to have access to and then help.
Right. I mean, if it's recommended that they be graded, they all be part of the same grade by a study that was done by an outside consulting, even if we're not using it, how we can't have such disparity. And the goal of anybody is not to bring everybody down to 12, certainly.
Right.
But I don't know if Chris, I know you're on mute, and I don't know if you're multitasking at the moment. If you have any thoughts from a.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Hi, guys. Sorry. Hi, morning. Sorry. Oops. Sorry, guys. Just got off another phone call, got interrupted.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I've heard part of this. Yeah, it's confusing to say the least. I mean, did I understand at some point that the way we were reading the scale, or the way we understood the scale between the exempt and the non-exempt, was not correct? That the way we read the scales is not the same. You don't go left to right or up or down or right to left or whatever the same way on both of them. Is that right?
Well, that's what we were told, but that was incorrect information.
Yeah, I think that's,
okay. That doesn't seem to make sense to me either. Okay. I guess, I think honestly, from what I've heard, I think I personally would go to Ed and just say, hey, can you help us sort this out? I mean, from the town perspective, I mean, he's the overall, manager of the town. From the town perspective, here's the, salary chart that is being used. Can you help clarify whatever it is your questions are? I mean, I think I would.
I did, and he did.
Okay.
But I think my question is, how can town department heads be at such wide range of grades?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree that they should be. I don't know how that's all happened over time. It doesn't seem to make any sense whatsoever. No, I agree.
I mean, some were graded back like in 2017, 2018. And then when that position was graded as a non-exempt, now we have, different. I mean, so I don't know what it would have been if we graded it as back 4 years ago and
Yeah.
or when everyone else was graded 4 years ago, what the perspective was, the treasurer collector and
I'm sorry, I don't have the papers in front of me. Can you just remind me when you had the scoring done and you thought you were in agreement with the grade, what was the grade step that you thought you had?
well, we were reading the chart the wrong way at the time. So at the time, we thought the grade was on the left-hand side. And so we were fine with a grade between the first step in the exempt scale, or what we thought was step 11 was 26, all the way up to step 20, which is 3154. So we thought that's fine. We can get Martha in the position where it needs to be.
But what was the grade, Janet? Sorry.
It was, well, we read it was being read wrong, so it was a grade 12.
Okay. And step what?
I'm sorry, grade 12, step 17. That's where we
Okay.
were.
On the exempt scale.
Correct.
And so we had to tilt it the other direction and read it that way.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah.
The steps only go to 13. The grades go to 20. And nowhere in the steps are we even at a comparable wage for what our intentions have been.
On the top of my personal scoring sheet, they wrote the date of 3/18/21 and the 3 board members' names of the PPB, and they wrote the range of 2605 to 3104, which reads left to right. So they read it wrong as well.
Well, they're the ones, we got the information from them, so we followed their guidelines.
But then on the exempt wage scale, it has a little arrow above grade that goes to the right, and underneath is written steps that goes up, which has been copied multiple times. So just pointing that out. I don't know.
No, that's why we are having this meeting, because we were given incorrect information, which since then has been changed, and now we're in this quandary, and I'm not quite sure what to do.
So reading this the way they're telling you to read it now puts the position at what? 1443 to 2867 if we're looking at grade 12.
And if you follow Ed's logic, so Martha's been in that position, it'll be her 4th year. Martha would be getting paid 1749.
49.
So I certainly don't
Yeah.
even agree
There's no
with.
way.
Right. So
I don't agree with Ed's take on it either, that it's because she's got a lot of years experience. She may not have been principal assessor, but if she were hired in as principal assessor right now, we wouldn't start her at
No.
1443. I mean, our admins make more than that. So I mean,
Yes.
so that doesn't make, that logic doesn't fly with what
So
we're-
just one quick question, and I'll let you guys finish. Does Ed agree that you read the exempt and the non-exempt chart differently?
no, he
Okay.
says the grade is across the top and the steps are on the left-hand side.
That's certainly not the way I've ever read a personnel payroll chart in my past life anyway. You always have more steps than you do grades. You
So
know.
that's what I was trying to pull up some of the old stuff that we had in that report from Art. The way his grades go, the same thing. It says grades going down and steps going across.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that it's, I
Right,
would
and
think that they would have to all be the same.
And that's how you guys thought you were going, right? And that was your first.
that was what we were led to believe. And I think the
Yes.
understanding of the PPPB at the time, I mean, I think it was an honest.
I mean, Martha has the written stuff that confirms what we're talking about here. So that, the steps range from 2605 to 3154. So I think this is going to take us a while to sort out. We're up against a budget decision from the Finance Committee, and quite truthfully, we can't even get anybody to sign off on this PCF because we're going around in this very frustrating circle. So,
well, we just needed to justify the increase that we were putting into the budget this year. I mean, if this doesn't justify, I mean, according to the study for the grade level 5 for fiscal year 20, based on those salaries, I mean, out of the benchmark, Martha was down 9% below the benchmark proposed range. And so, and there's other people that are like 18% above the benchmark. And so there are going to be variables. But many of the other department heads were making $29 or more dollars an hour. And we're not looking to make anybody's grade lower. We want to just get Martha in where the position she needs to be in.
We're looking to get a pay rate that's comparable for the position.
Yes.
Right.
However we get there, whatever steps we need to do. I mean, this, it doesn't appear to me that, signing a PCF for a scale and grade that are not getting us where we need to be makes any sense.
Right.
Right.
And just to pinpoint where the salary currently is, where does that land in terms of the grade step per the way it's reading supposedly, with the grade on the top?
With the grade on the top, okay, sorry, I'm looking at.
If that's what they say we have to do, right?
Right.
They say it's at 12.
So we'd be at roughly step 11, right?
Right now with Martha's salary right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
A 12, 11.
Yes. Yeah, grade 12, step 11. Yeah.
And she's still, like $5 an hour below where she probably should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at department heads in town. I mean, I would think most department heads are the same grade, and the step depends on, other things. But even if she were step 16, and according to the logic that was being used when your discussion with Ed, if she was rated at a grade 16, step 4 would be 1993. That's not right either. I mean,
right.
Just because she came to us, she would not have been hired at 1932 or whatever, so 1993. So.
So we have a finance meeting tonight. I will be attending. I'll be in the fiscal year 22 budget discussion. And what does the board want to reiterate, since we were kind of number one up and we had no visuals during that first meeting for option 1 and option 2? What does the Board of Assessors want to reiterate with the Finance Committee in terms of where we are looking, what we are recommending for this next fiscal year for the salary range? I mean, I think we're pushing for option 2, correct?
Yeah, of course, yes. And hopefully that, I think if they're going to adjust, if the select board determines that they're going to adjust some salaries that are kind of outliers, I think, I don't know if they would perceive Martha, and I'm not going to ask Chris because she doesn't speak for the select board, but Martha's on the edge of being an outlier compared to the other critical positions, town head positions in town. So we're trying to align her position to be comparable and fair pay relative to the other town department heads. And that's what we're asking for, is to correct that, regardless of the scoring or the rescoring. And we had to get into the exempt scale, but that's what we achieved, was getting an exempt salary, which isn't much higher than the non-exempt salary.
I know that, I'm looking at this going,
It makes no sense, because if you use that chart and like going back on the Jacob study to the original, like the current employee salaries, none of them really even match up anywhere on there. If you look at the grade levels for the jobs, I think the scale is, yeah, you're right. The scale doesn't make sense.
And the scale is really just for a hiring starting pay. I mean, because we don't do steps once people get hired. But if somebody's coming in to be hired at a certain, we have to determine a pay scale at that point. Because if they get anything, it's 2%. You don't get another step every year. You get an increase based on town revenues, but it's the hiring step that this is kind of critical for. And I'm not sure, I'll be as guilty as the next person in hiring somebody, not really reviewing this, because probably not having it at hand to fill out the PCFs and stuff.
So Darcy, did you find where current salaries are or grades?
Well, I was looking through the Jacob study, and the different salaries and it's the rates per hour,
Right.
And they don't make any sense. So the accountant, this is back from fiscal year 2017 was the Jacob study.
Right.
Do you have Art's updated one, Darcy, or are you using the one that?
Yes, the updated one, so from February 5th, 2020, but this is the original data. It says from fiscal year 2017. So I was just looking.
The salaries are current. We're current at the 2020 or 2019 timeframe.
Oh, okay.
So like the COA director at $20.40, that's the current salary. Martha's position at $25.20, I think that's her current salary. It wasn't back in 20.
Okay, so this one is because this isn't those numbers.
Okay.
So they have the council on aging director is 1910.
Okay, that's not the updated one then.
Yes. So this one back then, they had like the town accountant and the treasurer were 24. The clerk was significantly lower at 17, and principal assessor is 22. So I guess this one isn't really a good one to use.
I'm going to just scan in the scale that is the updated, I guess, current based on that. So give me just 1 second to do that.
And Janet, can you email that to us after the meeting's over too,
Yes.
please?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to have that in front of me tonight.
Yeah, and certainly April, and whenever you meet tonight, be sure that they do put the scales up so people can see them. I think it's so hard to talk about numbers when they're not projecting the scales,
Right. So again, I am unable to share. It may be just because I don't know how to do that, or because the little HP notebook that I'm using is incapable of doing two things at the same time, which is probably part of the problem, because I'm that way too. Anyways.
Well, it's just so hard to talk about figures in the abstract when you're not
Right.
looking at the paper itself. I assume finance has the scales, but I don't know.
I'm not going to assume that.
Yeah.
Janet, maybe.
Francine will have them, and she's on the finance, so.
Okay. And I don't know if, Janet, you have time, maybe you could give me a lesson. But
I'm happy to, or.
help!
Okay, I'm scanning this document, and then I'll try to bring it up if I remember what I named it.
So while we're waiting on that, Martha we're jumping into some new business that can't wait until the next meeting. Martha got a request for an MLC on some parcels. Is it just one parcel or is it a couple, Martha? You're on mute.
It's just one parcel. Her house is separate.
Okay, but it's a significant amount of acreage and it's in forest, chapter 61 forest. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to get one of those intent forms out.
Sorry to interrupt. Is this the parcel that you just emailed us?
No, that one is not under chapter. I thought it was.
Okay.
Martha, do you have the parcel, map and parcel for the one? Actually, are you ready to upload, Janet, or are we?
I'm ready whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's finish out the conversation on the page.
Excuse my scribbling across the bottom, okay?
Okay.
It's my thinking out loud.
That's quite all right. It helps everybody think.
So I believe this is pretty much current salaries as of today.
Okay.
Right, Martha, you're 2520, that's where you stand today? Because I think it was from 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and there was no increase the last go around, so the salaries haven't moved. So, but according to the Jacobs study, this was his recommendation, was the position title and all of these titles, which is a whole different grading system, but not a grade 5 according to our language, but a grade 5 according to their language, the study, the contractor. And you can see the big discrepancy in wages.
Yep.
And
Now that's art study, right?
well, it's not, it's from the art, yeah. What he tried to update at that
Right.
point before he left the PPPB and presented to the select board. And the recommendations, and I'm sorry, it's grayed out after you scan it a couple times.
That's all right. We can still kind of see it. Yeah.
What the negatives, so,
Yeah.
you know, town clerk, COA director, then the benchmarks, Martha -9, where other people are ahead of benchmark salaries. And again, we're not looking to reduce anyone's salary. That's not our goal. Our goal is to pull Martha up into a benchmark range, so.
Right.
And I think that's how we kind of got to where we were proposing, was based on these recommendations.
Right. So are we going to stick with our option 2 request, or are we going to recommend a different hourly rate?
What was our option 2?
I think it was 31 something. Hang on.
The 3164 that I wrote in next to.
No, I don't think it was that high, but it was 3115, I think. Hang on. I'm just buried in papers. 3114 hourly times 31 times 52.2.
Maybe that's what that number says, and I just can't read it even, but yes.
Yeah, I can see 3114 in there.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what we proposed in the budget, I mean, we did a lot of research to come to that number.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
We may
That's,
not quite reach that number, but
it's
you know.
3114 times 30 hours, is that right?
31 hours.
31?
Yep. Times 52.2.
I didn't know we had a 31-hour position.
Well, it's really to compensate for the board meeting, so it's really 30 hours,
After hours.
2 hours additional. on the other week. So 1 week is typically 30 hours, and then the second week is 32 hours. The board meeting's usually from 4:30, I stay from 4 to 4:30, and then 4:30 to about 6 is how long the board meetings seem to go.
But isn't that part of the exempt position now? That,
But I have not been exempt.
oh,
Right.
well,
That's how
okay.
we came up with the 31 hours. I mean, maybe 30 hours is the right number. We're not going to
Yeah.
swap over an hour a week. I
Yeah.
don't think if we
Right.
could.
Yeah. I mean, now, and this scoring has not been accepted by anyone.
Right. Okay. But going forward, I'm just saying, I guess with the exempt,
Right.
with the exempt labeling, the board
No.
hours would be included or assumed to be included already. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't think you do yourselves any favor to go less. I mean, you may as well put in what you're asking.
I mean, that was our proposed two. So budget two, I think we should stick with that.
Yep.
Right, I agree. I did find that chart too on the, in the papers that I have. So if you want, I can send it in color so you don't have the scan marks, Janet.
Okay.
So it's a little clearer in the email to everybody.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks, Darcy.
I'm a little hurt, Darcy, but okay.
I'm sorry. I'm not very good with technology, but that I can do.
That's great. Good. Yeah, my original has been, so
Yeah,
that's great. No, appreciate that. I'm teasing.
with the scanning, it does get messed up. But I think I would suggest, April, that you just use this chart and not even, she's not a new hire. So, the chart wouldn't really even have anything to do with what we're asking.
So if we can get an increase in salary, then we'll put the PCF in. I mean, because the scoring didn't really help support other than to get into an exempt position where the principal assessor should be. But I agree that all these position titles should be in the same grade. And I can't say that they are at this moment. I know they're not. I don't know where the other ones are. I only know a couple of them. And I know the building commissioner has left, and so that salary's a little bit lower.
Yeah, and I'm not sure on the accountant one. I'm thinking that's actually a little bit higher from when Vicky left too. But anyway.
Right. Yeah, so these are just from a year ago, so that would be when those people were still in place, so they're not 100% accurate.
I think oftentimes you have, you wouldn't have just necessarily just one grade for a department head. In my experience, you might have like a 2 grade, like you might have a 14, 15 is the grade of your department heads. And it just depends on your level of experience when you come into the job, whether you started a grade 14 or not, but it gives that promotion potential usually. So they may not all be the same grade, but there should be, within a reasonable amount. So I guess the question would be, is proposing the 3114, what percentage increase is that over where you are,
Right.
where the current salary is? Because that's going to be the percentage that's going to stick out, that people may want you to justify why you're going to whatever that percentage is. So if you've got that argument ready, that might help tonight. I don't know. I think what you're trying to look at here, because Jacobs hasn't been adopted, is to point out the fact that this position according to this analysis anyway, that was done, is a good 9% below what it should be. And arguing something along those lines, maybe. I'm not sure, but.
I think we were looking at the other 3 finance team members, the accountant and the collector, and trying to get within that range, so. I don't know that everybody appreciates the significance of what the principal assessor does in town and how much responsibility is in that office. when it comes to setting the tax rate and really critical.
Yeah, it is a huge amount of responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to get a percentage here, and it's going to be like a 23% increase, I think.
Because I think we also compared April to other communities, similar communities.
Right, we did, yes. We spent a lot of time doing our research on that. Yeah.
Right. So do you have that document still? Because those are the things we weren't able to show when we met with them the first time, and they didn't, they started sharing documents, I think, at the next meeting. So it became a little bit easier to follow along the request.
Yeah. So I don't have that document readily at hand. Hang on, let me see.
I think that was more what we referenced than.
Right.
I'm trying to see where I can bring it up, April, here. So, yeah, sure it is, I think. This may be a big one now. Let me see. Yeah.
The classification.
Let me just bring this one up. So this is kind of where we were looking at the communities, right? So.
Right. Can you email that one to me too?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll let Darcy email the other one, and I'll email this one.
Thank you.
I won't take that away.
Unless you have them both, Darcy, and it's just easier to send them together.
I have Martha's original scoring.
Yeah, I do too.
Any thoughts on this? I think this is where we kind of came up with a
Right.
mid-range hourly rate. That plus the other finance team, kind of where their salary ranges are,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think if we have that original presentation that we did to the board, to the PPB, and use that, I mean, that was our justification, was this, and a combination of that chart.
Yeah, and
The Jacob study chart.
Yeah, the one that Janet had pulled up just before this.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess, somehow to weave in the notion of what you're trying to do with that Jacobs chart clearly, though, because everybody's going to jump back and say, well, this has not been adopted, right? So, you've got to make it clear why you're bringing that into the conversation, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that, the scoring puts the two, department heads at different grade, so far apart grade levels, that, and again, I don't know. I know, Chris, you were great at going into the Dropbox and finding, I don't know if you can find scoring or for treasurer collector, or if we can get that from, we probably won't be able to get it for tonight though, from the PPPB. I don't know how readily accessible those documents are. But to try to get a sense of what grade level accountant, what are the other grades of the other comparable town department heads?
Yeah, I've got a little bit of time. I could play with a little bit at midday here. I could try and look for something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stick it under, it's not your, but I mean, everything is in a locked file cabinet in town hall otherwise, so.
So you're looking at comparable grades or grades and steps for the other parts of the finance team is what you're looking for?
So
Yeah.
that would be the town accountant and the treasurer, correct?
Yeah, or even, and if you want, yeah, and a couple other,
And like, you mean the most recent, not when they started, right?
what the position was scored at when the PPPB scored it back in 2017 or 2018.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I can also see if Jim Palermo's good at pulling up minutes from the old PPPB because he was a clerk at the time. So I can also ask him if he has a letter for when the scoring occurred for the other positions. If that
So
helps.
would we be looking for all of those positions that are listed together on the Jacob study? I think we ought to look at all of them to see where the principal assessor falls.
Yeah, I don't know how much time Chris has, but I can ask Jim if he could get me, if he happens to have the minutes, because he provided for me the recommended salary at the time for the Council on Aging Director back in 2018 from their minutes. So,
I mean, is there another place at Town Hall where it's easy, in a file folder someplace where it's easy to grab for someone who's in Town Hall? I mean,
it's a locked file cabinet because of personnel files.
Right, okay.
So I don't know if anybody, Art was the one that held the key, at that point in time. So I don't know between now and 5:30 if you're gonna.
Right.
I don't think Ed has access to that, but I can ask Jim if there's any chance he could send me, if he can find. He's very good at finding things.
Right. I just don't want a lot of people, kind of doing this massive hunt and search.
Yeah. So you tell me what you want us to do, because I mean, Chris has got a tight schedule, and I don't want to impact her. But if Jim can pull up the minutes for the grading of, at least we could pick out, I mean, so I know that the COA director was graded at a grade 16 at the time.
Okay.
So that's one of those people, and those positions, I should say, not people. So if we want to maybe look at the treasurer, the collector, or the treasurer, the accountant, and for the scoring standpoint, and maybe, I don't know, the health director or somebody. I'm trying to see if I have, he sent me a couple, but I don't think I have those.
I went on the website, and the only minutes they have it says minutes 2011 to 2014. I don't know why it's not updated under the.
Well, it could be on MyTownGov. Did you go to MyTownGov?
No, I'm going to go there now.
That's where they're stored now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll follow up on that.
So, Janet, when was that? That was done when? What year? 2017?
2018, basically, 2017, 2018, yeah. So the treasurer collector, let me see. Oh, that's the assistant. I'm sorry. So. Yeah, most of these are assistants.
And are they non-exempt positions, the assistants?
They could be, probably. They're probably non-exempt. So the ones that I happen to have.
Right, okay.
But I'm going to say, I do have like the building commissioner at that time was graded grade 12 as well. But the salary does not reflect a grade 12, so.
Yeah, that's another very important position that,
But they didn't, I mean, when I,
but the hourly rate on that is a lot higher than,
yes, than a grade 12, yeah.
okay.
I mean, they varied from meeting. Do they have 2018 up there, Darcy?
They have them, yeah, I'm on my gov and I'm just going back to see like what the agendas are of the meeting so that I can not have to read the entire minutes
Right.
but I was hoping to find it. So yeah. Let's see. So was it back in 2020 that you thought?
2018.
Oh, 2018. Okay.
So it's like I have October 25th, I have November 8th. I mean, we can look at this in,
Right.
September. So I don't know one particular. Because, yeah, the principal assessor at that point was March 22nd of 2018, but a non-exempt grade 10.
So this is the minutes for the PCF for
Because, I mean, if they're all, maybe they are rated in the similar area and, it's just due to whatever, their grade
right.
A is just much higher than what was originally recommended. But I mean, we just don't know what grades they were. We know what pay they are at or have been at. So, I mean, we can look through this and I can see, so we don't need.
Yeah, because I'm finding some of the PCFs, but I just have to go through them all to find those people because they're going through the whole town.
Right.
So I can have time to play on this too.
Okay.
And Darcy, what time frame are you looking at? Just so I can...
I'm at November 29th, 2018. And I did December also.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it even started earlier, but so. Okay, so there were PCFs. I don't know that these would be online though. That's the only problem. And if I'd have to check the minutes here.
Okay, so here's one with Lucy would be on there and the Council on Aging. So let me see the minutes. I can play around. I'm not quick on pulling up.
Yeah, it might take some time. I don't know if all the,
Yeah, I'll play around. I clicked on the minutes, but it's not coming up, but it might take a little.
Okay. All right, so I'll reiterate that the board agrees with the PPPB that the principal assessor's position should be exempt. And that our goal is to get an hourly pay that is in line with the other two legs of the finance team.
right.
Based on our research for what other towns are paying their principal assessor positions. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, and I think if we can just ask them to share do they know you're coming?
Yes, yeah.
So they have the background documentation, but to share, but if they don't happen to have it handy.
No, I want to be able to pull it up. Actually, I need to learn how to do this since Zoom is going to be with us for a very long time. And I just need to learn how to do this. So, yeah.
And I don't know, Darcy, if they weren't done,
They're not giving the actual, they're giving the rates and stuff, but they're not giving the scale, or the grades.
Okay.
This is the assessors. What am I doing? Okay.
It just says, at the same level. It doesn't give an actual
Grade.
No. But
And the only other person that might know, and it depends on, is, they do the payroll at the treasurer's office, but I don't know if they would have a list of the grades or not. And I don't think it's anybody's, I don't want to upset the apple cart either,
mhm.
Because even it's interesting that the building commissioner was graded a 12 and yet the pay scale. I mean, I know that the current commissioner isn't at this rate, but it's not, he's probably close to 30, I would think. I'd have to see if we can find the PCF for the new hire.
Okay. I think I have what I need to talk about. And if I can do visuals, then that will be fabulous.
If you want to do a practice session, April, let me know. Okay.
All right.
I'm happy to do that. That's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I have to do it physically several times before I get it.
It's not that hard, really, I swear.
I just have to learn how to make it work. All right. So are we all set on where we stand with the PCF then? Since I don't personally, no matter what we decide today and what I fill out and what I submit to town, it's not going anywhere because there's a big circle that is just not happening until the finance and the budget is passed, as far as I can gather from the conversations.
Yeah, so we may as well just hold that in the bag and wait and see how the budget goes. But I mean,
PCFs are done throughout the year, doesn't, right? So whatever the budget is, doesn't preclude us from working on this until we get it to a place where we're happy with it, correct?
Right. So the PCF that you submitted, though, was for how much? The 20?
20, I thought it was the 29.
971?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I know we put in for one amount and then the PCF says another amount. So, based on this scale, and again, the scale is 3.5 years old. So there's only been a couple of increases over that period of time, though, unfortunately. So,
Yeah. All right, on to the MLC that was requested. Martha, do you have a map and parcel on that for us?
I just printed the card. And it's gone.
April, did you get the, I'm trying to remember, the link for both meetings for Tuesday? Next week, both the executive session link and the regular meeting?
I did. Did I forward both or did I not? I'll forward them.
It's probably in the email. Yes, I'll take a look at it.
Okay. Yeah, so there are two separate links for next Tuesday, the 20th meetings. One for executive session, which we're going to go into first, and then one for opening it to a regular meeting.
So we have to go to open meeting first, then move to executive session, and then go back to open meeting. So
That's kind of the way I'm looking at this. And
Yeah.
Martha, you emailed everybody those PowerPoint presentations on the utilities and that kind of stuff. Everybody's gotten that, right?
I haven't, but I'm going to check my junk now.
Okay.
I did get it.
All right. So let's all plan to read through that so we have a little bit of background information and read. I have not had a chance to read Roy's email in depth. I kind of skimmed over it, but Chris, do you want to have that? Were you on that email? Do you want to have that information as well?
I don't think I've seen the email. I heard part of your discussion last meeting.
Okay. Do you want to have it? I'm happy to forward that information.
Sure. Okay. Sure. Yeah.
All right. Great.
So, April, I would recommend we do our open meeting, then move to executive session and just leave from executive session. Otherwise,
Okay.
you're starting in one meeting, moving to the other one, moving back to
Going back. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It may get,
All right.
we may all get lost.
Yeah, we might. Yep. I'll be so glad when it's warm enough to be outside having meetings. Yeah.
I'm getting there.
What day was it sent? I can't seem to even find it in my junk.
I sent it Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. I can't find it. If you wouldn't mind just resending it, and I don't have the links either.
Okay. Well, Janet hasn't sent those out yet.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, I'll forward the email to both you and Chris. So,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Martha, what's a map?
3310.
Okay. Thank you.
And I don't know if you, Janet, know anything. It's the woman buying the condo.
Oh, okay. So this is Russellville Road?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's,
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with this one now.
yeah, I don't know much about it other than
Okay.
she used to play pickleball. That's my exposure to that.
Okay, so we're talking about,
Now, was it it's being separated out?
no,
House and land is just in 61.
Now, was the land is staying with the present owner and the house and parcel?
Yeah, I have no idea.
so we need to find that out because the MLC, what was the MLC for both parcels?
Yes.
Okay, so,
So are there two parcels? There's map 33, lot 10, or what did I miss? I just want to make sure that, so are there
so
multiple
that
parcels?
owner also owns map 33, lot 7,
Okay,
where the primary residence is.
okay. And they're being treated separately?
They're on the same MLC.
Oh, they're on the same MLC, okay.
Well, there were two separate requests,
Okay,
but how they are listed, I don't believe they're listed yet. So I don't know how they're being marketed.
and it may be a private sale. If there's an MLC that's already been requested, then it's a private sale and we're behind the 8 ball.
It is a private sale.
Okay. Darcy, do you have information as to whether both parcels are included in that private sale?
Not for certain, but
You have
what I've
rumor.
heard was that the land was staying with the present owner and the house was going to the buyer.
Okay,
Which the house isn't under chapter anyway, so, right?
right. But in terms of map 33 parcel or lot 10, the Board of Assessors is entitled, as is the town, to get updated information about the intent of this this current owner and whether or not this is included in a purchase transaction. And so we've got to get, I personally feel like we've got to get that letter out today, sent certified for signature by the current owner so that we know that that owner has received our documentation and request for information. Chris, you're on mute.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, we need to understand whether that is being
Right.
talked about as coming out of chapter, and if so, yeah, we've got to, be sure that we've got the right notification out there
Right.
pronto.
There's a lien on that property, and I know, Martha, you've noted that on MLC, right?
Yes.
But as things have slipped through the cracks before in this town, many times, I think that the Board of Assessors has to do the best job that we can to get up-to-date information in terms of the intent of the landowner.
So is the properties not for sale then?
From this is, I don't know this first.
Private, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you can share.
I don't know it firsthand. It's just, what I've
Right.
heard.
Yeah, I think the reason we created that form, right, was to have the landowners remind them of their obligation when they take something out of chapter and change its use. So I agree. Get the certified letter out and put the landowner on record as to what they're doing. And if they're keeping it in their family's property, then fine. It's not an issue, right? But until we have them tell us that, we really don't know. So it's not worth making assumptions until they tell us what they're really doing. And
Right.
that's why we created the letter to make that happen.
The letter definitely needs to go out.
Yeah. I mean, if an MLC has been requested for that particular map and parcel number, then that is, we're kind of already behind the 8 ball. That is our cue to move very quickly to be able to get the information that we need to be able to understand what's happening with this particular parcel. So.
Great.
Did you get the, I sent you the letters that I sent to the.
Yes, I did. Yeah. So my only thought is that I would be, as board member and chair, happy to physically sign a letter. And then I think a cover letter that states very clearly current, we've received a request for MLC on parcel, map 33, parcel 10 for X number of acres, for 68.93 acres. And we would like to remind you of your obligations under Chapter 61 Forestry. And here is the form that the town is sending to any landowner who has an MLC request that comes through our office.
Yeah, I mean, that's the process for the town, right? For the assessors, so.
Yeah. And I was thinking maybe that cover letter shouldn't just be on white paper. Maybe we should put it on some kind of colored paper so it really is noticeable, like pink or, something to make it really stand out. And I'll be happy to sign that as well. Just a quick, here it is. I don't know. I mean, the letter that we send, the intent form, is pretty self-explanatory, but it's got a lot of words on it, and some people may not even pay attention. I don't know.
Should a copy also go with the MLC?
Once I just verify that there's any water liens or betterments or the land's in chapter land, and then it goes back over to the collector's office, then they handle it.
So you don't.
Yeah, so I'm not going to put anything on that.
Yeah, and that's part of the breakdown of communication in town between the different departments, and that's why things have slipped through the cracks. And yeah.
I think on that form, April, that you're talking about, maybe I agree with you. There's a lot of words on that form. Maybe in his cover letter that you're mentioning, to just, what I would say, direct somebody's attention to, the back of the page, section X or something, so that they know that there's something there that they have to look at and sign or whatever they have to do, just so that you focus them on what they have to do.
Yep. I'm almost thinking that when this notice of intent goes out, we have completed that first part. Because we know what chapter it's in quickly, whether it's 61, 61A or 61B, we know who the owner of record is and the parcel ID number. We kind of fill that out for them and then ask them to complete the rest of it. That's what my thought was this morning. That makes sense to people?
Yeah, I mean, it, makes it just a little bit easier.
Yep. Martha, when you get an MLC, do you have any information about attorneys or anything to?
No, I just get a list of the parcel ID, the owner, and the address, and I just check off if it's okay, or I write if the amount of the water lien, and then if it's chapter land and which chapter it is. And then the collector's office makes note of that on the MLC.
Okay.
Martha, you think you can get that out today, or?
Well, I mean, I thought April wanted to,
Letter,
yeah.
once you get the letter from April.
Yeah, I can do that. And then I can stop by and sign both. And then I will be happy to take it to the post office and get it mailed out certified. So,
Okay, great.
all right, does anybody have anything else that's new business that we need to attend to immediately before right now in this meeting that can't wait until the 20th, our next meeting? Okay, guys, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you. I will let you know how things go tonight. Chris, when are you anticipating of finalizing the fiscal year 22 budget?
Well, not sure. I mean, tonight should be a pretty good discussion, I would assume, between with finance, because they are, I think, looking for the first time, I hope, at kind of the consolidated budget that, you know, all the various departments have put together. I assume that's part of their discussion tonight.
Right.
Certainly before the end of the month. I mean, by the 20th or somewhere in there, I think we've got meetings, I'm not sure, on the 23rd. We'll probably have a couple special meetings in between our normal meeting time, because I think we're meeting on the 20th anyway, but I'm pretty sure we'll meet before that on budget issues. So
Okay.
sooner rather than later, I guess, but it's already a little bit behind schedule.
Right. Okay.
In April, I'm hoping to have a couple of those scoring things, the minutes from the previous, like 2017, 2018 PPPB meetings where those positions were scored, if at
Okay.
least Jim is going to look into it for me.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
I mean, it's just interesting that building was scored a grade 12 and they, you know, and the top step there is 2867 and the pay at the time was 33 and change. So, you know, I'm just, you know, which calls into question, why do we have scoring if we're not going to stay within it?
Yeah.
Or if the scoring isn't correct, I mean, isn't sufficient for today's times, I guess, you know.
Right.
This is what the tools that they have to work with. So it's, I know they're trying to update the pay scale a little bit, but 2% a couple times is not going to get anybody from 2067 to 33 and change. So.
Right. Yep. All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. West aye.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, Brandy, aye.
Thank you, everybody.
I always feel like I'm going to say canine instead of cane on. It's just,
That would be appropriate, I guess. All of your furry friends. Yeah.
all right, everybody be
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you. Bye.